I was a total dreamer. My head was always in the clouds, and most of the time I was thinking about the perfect relationship. I lived, breathed, and ate soap operas, and I had billions of love songs saved on my computer and phone. I read nothing but romance novels in class, and most of my teachers were frustrated with me for never paying attention to anything they said. I was too caught up in my fantasies to care. But before I continue my interesting story, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. If you do, your crush will finally like you back. I was 16 years old and I had a few boyfriends in the past, but we never lasted more than 2 months. I always ended up finding someone else more interesting, and I was frustrated that they did not live up to the characters in my books and movies. I don't even know how this started. It's not like I have psychological issues or anything. I came from a normal household with a mom, dad, grandparent, and siblings. We always had enough stuff, and I was a typical daddy's girl. He bought me anything I wanted.
Valerie, I know I give you everything, but I think it's about time you became a little more independent,
he said to me one night. What do you mean? I asked.
You can start saving money for college. Why not find a part-time job? I think you spend too much time watching soap operas and reading silly books,
he replied. I couldn't believe my dad suggested this. I was his little princess and he wanted me to work? Fend for myself? Ugh. Anyway, I could only work after school and on weekends, so at first it was really difficult to find a part-time job that would accept me. I was just about to give up when the owner of a little coffee shop at a university campus said, "You're hired." Really? I asked, half disappointed because I really wanted to report to my dad that no one would hire me, hoping he'd change his mind. Then the door opened and my heart literally stopped.
Hey Aiden, come meet your new apprentice. Valerie, this is Aiden. He works here too,
my new boss said. At that moment, I knew I was destined to be right there with the most perfect looking guy in the universe. What a hunk! Hi, I blushed.
Hello, beautiful.
He winked and I totally melted.
I'll show you the ropes today,
he said, and I felt like this was going to be the best day of my entire life. I was so nervous around Aiden that day that I spilled 3 cups of coffee, one on the kitchen counter, one on a customer, and one all over my new apron. It was so embarrassing. While I tried to wash my apron off in the sink, Aiden approached me with a smile.
Maybe it's just first day jitters. You'll have a better day tomorrow,
he said. Yeah, I guess, I replied, totally hiding the fact that it was all his fault.
Hey, I was wondering, could I have your number? We can talk about work stuff,
he said while laughing. It really was the best day of my life. I gave him my number, and when my shift was over, I skipped all the way home feeling like I was in the clouds. My dad was super happy that I'd found a job too.
That's my girl, she's independent,
he said while he did a ridiculous little dance. That night, Aiden called. We spoke for about 2 hours straight. I found out that he was a student on the same campus where we worked. We were the same age, but he was just super smart and was able to leave high school really early.
Do you have a boyfriend?
He asked suddenly. No, I replied.
Well, I know this is weird because I just met you today, but would you like to go out on a date with me sometime?
He asked. Yes, I said almost too quickly.
Wonderful,
he replied. Aiden and I went to a concert that weekend, and then we went back to his house to watch a movie. It was perfect, and I couldn't stop staring into his eyes. It seemed like he felt the same way about me too. I saw him every day when I worked at the cafe, and we continued dating steadily. Eventually, he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I said yes. I was pretty certain that he was the one for me. He was perfect. I'm not sure if it's because I rushed into a relationship too quickly, but after a while, I began to notice things about him that weren't so perfect. I was in his room one afternoon. We'd just finished playing video games, and I decided I wanted to take a nap. He was right next to me playing on his phone. I closed my eyes for a few minutes, but I couldn't fall asleep. I opened my eyes slightly and noticed that Aiden was browsing through his Instagram feed. There was something strange about this, though. Every single picture was of a super hot model. These girls were unbelievably beautiful. But do you know what? He liked every single picture. I was so angry. I opened my eyes and snatched the phone away from him. Am I not enough for you? I screamed.
What do you mean? I'm only innocently scrolling through Instagram. What is wrong with you?
He asked, trying to make me feel like I was the crazy one. I scrolled some more and saw hundreds more beautiful girls. I checked to see which account he was using and realized that it was a secret account which I did not know about. Why do you even have this account, and why are you keeping secrets from me? I hate you! I screamed and threw his phone on the floor. Then I walked out of his house and went home. We weren't talking to each other for 2 whole weeks. It was extremely awkward at work. Then one day, he sent a dozen flowers to my house with a note that said, "So sorry, can we please talk?" Ooh, someone sent you flowers. Why don't you invite him over? My mom said innocently. I was annoyed, but I called him anyway. Thank you for the flowers. You can come over to my house later to talk. It's time for you to meet my parents anyway, I said. He agreed. When he came over later, my whole family was waiting to meet him. I never told them about our fight, of course. They were just under the impression that he was my boyfriend. When we were finally alone in my room, he said, "Well, I have a problem. In fact, I'm not even sure if it's a problem. I'm obsessed with models. I love their hair, lips, body, clothes, everything. They're a work of art, really, and I just enjoy staring at them. This doesn't mean I love you any less, but they were sort of there before you. It's always been my thing. Still, you're everything I need." But if I'm everything you need, then why do you need to follow these models? I asked. It's an addiction, I guess. I can't stop, he replied sadly. We decided to give our relationship a second try, but I was still depressed about his addiction. I kept wondering if something was wrong with me. I didn't feel as pretty as these other girls. What could I do so I'd be enough for him? I kept thinking. He was my perfect guy after all. I didn't want to lose him. So one day, I felt like I had no choice. I made a new Instagram account and began thinking of suggestive poses I could post. I got all my beautiful clothes and took hundreds of pictures. I posted the hottest ones and sent the account to my boyfriend. I waited a while for his response. My phone rang. Whoa, Valerie, I love your new page. I didn't know you could be so hot. Wow, he said. So you like it? I asked. I love it. I'm going to share your page with all my friends. You're going to be a hit. The newest Instagram model in town, he said. I was a little surprised that my boyfriend would want to share my pictures with his friends, but I tried not to think too hard about it. Before I knew it, I had 500 followers and it really fueled my ego. I decided I'd have to post more pictures so I could get more likes and followers. So I did just that. My relationship with Aiden was improving. He seemed to be very proud to be in a relationship with me. Whenever we went out, he'd tell people about my Instagram page and ask them to follow. Then one night after work, he sat next to me while I was drinking a cup of coffee. Valerie, I think your pictures are getting a bit, boring, he said. What do you mean? I asked. Well, models don't usually cover everything, if you know what I mean. Your poses are nice and your clothes are too, but have you ever considered modeling swimsuits? He replied. Well, I've always been a bit self-conscious and I don't like to show too much skin. You know that, Aiden, I said, disappointed. Well, I think you should just try them and you'll see how wrong you are. You've nothing to be self-conscious about, trust me. I bought you a few bikinis and you can come over now to try them on. I'll take the pictures, he said. I went over to his house and tried the first one on. It was a black swimsuit. He asked me to pose and he took a few photos. See, you're so beautiful. I think you should post this right now, he said. I looked at the picture and wasn't fully convinced, but I posted it anyway because I didn't want him to be upset with me. That picture got thousands of likes within a few hours and my followers increased. He convinced me to try on the other suits and I took many more pictures. The next week, we went to the beach just so I could pose in them. After posting these pictures, I got some emails from bikini companies. They wanted to send me their stuff so I could take pictures in them and promote their brands. They offered to pay $100 for each picture. Oh my gosh, that's great! You get free swimsuits and cash, my boyfriend said. He seemed happier than I was. So that is how I started making money doing something I didn't really enjoy. Aiden convinced me to give him some. He said that if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have had these opportunities in the first place. I figured he was right. I would have never done this on my own. Apparently, guys really love swimsuit pictures. Before I knew it, I had over 200,000 followers. Aiden was so happy, and one day, in the middle of a photo shoot, he had another idea. I heard that there's a modeling agency in town. They're looking for beautiful women. The audition is tomorrow at 10 in the morning, he said. But I have school, I replied. It won't hurt to miss one day, come on. I'll pick out the outfits, he said, and I eventually agreed. The next day, I did something I never imagined myself doing, walking in a swimsuit in front of a bunch of strangers who were judging my face and body. And do you know what? I was hired. The pay was almost 10 times higher than what I was making in the cafe. We won't get to work together anymore, I said sadly. That's fine, you're making so much more money for us, he replied. I started skipping school to go to photo shoots. I was way behind and my grades were falling, but I was happy, I think, because I had the perfect boyfriend and I was making loads of money. I thought that because I became a model, he was more obsessed with me than anyone else. He told me he deleted his secret Instagram page and that he wasn't following those women anymore. I believed him. Until Aiden and I were in his room talking and he got up to go to the bathroom. I touched my ear and realized that my earring was missing, so I started looking on the floor. I knelt down near the bed and what I saw under there was shocking. There were tons of magazines with suggestively dressed women on the covers. I pulled one out and flipped through it. It was filled with pictures of models. I pulled another magazine out and saw the same thing. It became obvious to me that he was still obsessed with looking at pictures of other women and nothing I did mattered to him. "What are you doing?" he asked as he walked in on me going through his magazines. "Why do you have those?" I asked. "It's none of your business what I have in my room," he said. I stormed out of his room and walked home. When I opened my front door, I heard a voice behind me. "Wait, please don't go." Aiden had followed me. "Leave me alone," I screamed. My dad opened the door. "Honey, why are you screaming?" "Oh my gosh, why are you crying? What's wrong?" he said. I hadn't even realized I'd been crying. At that point, I was just sick of everything. I told my dad everything I had been through in the past few months with Aiden. I looked at his face and realized I'd never seen him that angry before. "You gave him your money? The money you earned?" he screamed. "Come here, stupid boy," he said to Aiden. Aiden walked up to him. My dad pulled him inside and threw him on the couch. "Valerie, go upstairs and get your swimsuits," he said. I did as he asked. My dad then forced Aiden to wear them and took many pictures. He forced Aiden to upload them to his own Instagram page, then asked him to get out of our house. Aiden and I broke up because I realized that I was being manipulated by a guy who didn't really love me. I don't model anymore, and my dad hasn't forced me to get another job. He thinks this was all his fault, and I'm not upset he feels that way. It means I'm his little princess again, and I can get whatever I want.